Hi, I'm Femi OK and you're in the stream. Today, is it natural for boys to only play with cars and action figures while girls play with makeup and dolls? We look at the debate over gender stereotypes in toys. So I'm joined today by some interesting props. Can you see them? I know you thought I was going to say Malika Bilal, but no, I'll keep her waiting. Malika Bilal, digital producer of the stream. What are you seeing online?
For a very good reason, of course.
Yes, for gender stereotypes in toys. What's going on?
Well, people online are showing their own examples. There's these color-coded aisles that they see in stores. It's these not so subtle hints like this one from Twitter account Let Toys Be Toys. It shows Smiths in the UK with a blue box for boys, calling on them to be doctors, and a pink box for girls saying they can be nurses. And this other one I want to show you is on Instagram. This is of a toy drive, but very clearly separated for gender. So of those are you at home, we want to hear your experiences with this. You can tweet us your take with hashtag AJStream.
Blue is for boys and pink is for girls. Well, that's the message at toy stores around the world, where the boys section is stocked with building blocks, toy weapons and science kits, where the girls' shelves have beauty products, princess outfits and cooking tools. It's all over ads as well. Take a look.
Want something your way? You build it. Introducing You Build Battleship. A glitter blow dryer? That's so Barbie.
The Transformers war is here, and both sides can change from vehicle to blaster in an instant.
My baby's first cold. Let's use the bear thermometer. Good girl. I can give you medicine and change your wet diaper.
So supporters believe that companies are merely following the natural likes and dislikes of boys and girls, while critics say this has long-term negative impacts and creates inequality between boys and girls. And now numerous campaigns are trying to force toy companies to become more gender neutral. Joining us to talk about this via Skype, we have Lucy Follett. She is the co-founder of Lotty Dolls and she's in London. Elizabeth Sweet is a sociologist and a postdoctoral scholar at the University of California, Davis, and she analyses the changing shape of the toy market. Also in California, we have Margot Black, a parent and PR executive, and in New Jersey via Google Plus Hangout, father and blogger Joe DeProspero. So it's great to have you all here. Welcome everybody. Good to have you here in the stream. Joe, think back to when you were a little boy. What did you play with? What were your toys?
I feel like, Femi, I feel like I should have brought them today so we can get in the spirit of things. But I played with, I had an older sister growing up, and I think that benefited me. I mean, I always wanted a brother, always wanted that camaraderie. But what I benefited by having a sister was that not only would she play with my toys, like my wrestling action figures and my He-Man and things like that.
Nice.
But then after all our friends had gone home, I would have her Barbies to play with, like her Barbie dream house. We'd play house, we'd play kitchen.
Okay.
And I didn't have anybody over my shoulder, any classmates telling me what I should or shouldn't be doing. So I played with a big mix of everything, which I think helped me establish my perspective for today.
Interesting. Elizabeth, think back to when you were young. So your favorite toys, what did you play with?
Well, one of the stories I like to tell is I had Barbie. I loved Barbie. And I had a Lone Ranger doll, which was kind of an action figure
I love the Lone Ranger doll. I forgot about him. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I had this T-top Tonka Jeep, and I would put Barbie in the driver's seat, and they'd go four-wheeling. So
Yeah, I love that. Malika, what's the community playing with when they were kids?
We asked them that same question and whether or not their toys were stereotypical girl or boy. Diana says yes and no. I got dolls, airplanes, and an electric train. On the other hand, though, this person, Oreneb, I'll show you this tweet. Oreneb says, I was scolded by my traditional mom if I played with anything quote-unquote boyish. It didn't stop me, and I still played with Barbie. So Margot, of course, I'm going to knock this one over to you. Do the toys that you played with as a child differ from the ones that your daughter plays with?
Well, I have a son.
Excuse me.
Not sure, but I had all girl toys, Barbies, box of dolls, but I also had hula hoops and juggling balls. Right now, I've got a boy that is all boy. So my house is all trucks and Legos and warrior games and science kits. I literally have stereotypical boy happening over here in Hollywood, California.
Now, if somebody bought your son a boy doll, for instance, let me show you Flynn back here. Flynn is one of the Lotty dolls here. So this is Finn, and you can see him on my laptop. This is Finn, and he's got sort of auburn hair. He's got a bomber jacket and a T-shirt. If somebody gave your little one a Finn doll, what would your reaction be?
Well, you come on over to my house and bring my son a truck, Femi.
Yeah.
He will give you a hug. You give him a doll, he will give it to the dog.
Oh, okay. Lucky dog.
Hands down.
All right.
Yeah.
Let me bring in Lucy.
He'll look at you like you're crazy.
He's like, what are you thinking, Auntie Femi? Where's the truck? All right, so let me bring in...
Auntie Femi, bad gift giver. Party foul.
Yeah, we need to teach him a few manners. Okay. This is a hypothetical situation. I know he's a lovely, polite little boy. Lucy...
Absolutely, with perfect manners and perfect parenting.
Of course he is. On my desk, Lucy, I've got a load of dolls here, and they're from the Lotty range, and this is a range that you developed. As we look at these Lotty dolls, can you tell us what the idea was behind them?
Oh gosh, absolutely. Well, the idea for Lotty first came about when I read an article by Dr. McCarthy, and it was concerning the effect of fashion dolls on girls' body image. So we contacted the professor, and we ended up developing a doll body that's based on the realistic childlike proportions of a 9-year-old girl. Lottie doesn't wear makeup, jewelry or high heels, and she can stand on her own 2 feet, as you can see there.
Yeah.
In front of you, we have Super Lottie in the center. Now that has actually been developed and created by 6-year-old Lily from Ohio. So we've really tried to build in lots of really realistic childlike elements. That is a child design.
Right, okay, and then we've got one over here. So we've got like a scientist over here, and she's got a telescope and she's checking out the stars.
Absolutely, that's Stargazer Lottie, and that'll be launching early next year. And that's actually a collaboration with the European Space Agency. So we've worked really hard to create lots of different collaborations with really interesting organizations. And the other doll that you see there is Fossil Hunter Lottie.
Right.
And again, that's also a collaboration with Trailblazers, who are a fantastic organization of women scientists. And they cover areas including paleontology and archaeology.
Right.
So we really wanted to create a very diverse range. And yes, we have a range that includes activities that are traditionally perceived as girly. So we have a ballerina doll, we have dolls having imaginary tea parties.
So Lucy, let me just interrupt the advert for the moment, and we get the idea. But there's something else going on here, Elizabeth, which I feel is that there's a pushback now from some toy makers about toys being very specifically gender stereotyped. When did we get to this heyday of pink aisle, blue aisle for boys, pink aisle for girls, which is quite common if you go through a lot of toy shops today? When did this start to happen?
I think it really started to emerge in the 1990s. I don't see it happening so much before then, but I think the pink and the blue coding just began in the early 1990s and has really exploded over the past 15 years or so. Yeah, and I would say that it's, you know, a lot of people think, oh, it's always been this way. Toys have always been as gender specific as they are now. And I would say that's absolutely not the case based on my research. And even just, you know, observing the toy aisles over the time that my daughter's been growing up, it's certainly gotten much, much worse, especially over the past 10 years.
You know, people online are also asking, when did this get so entrenched? You have viewpoints like this. This is from Chisoli, who says, sometimes let girls be girls and boys be boys. But other people are asking, well, what does that mean? So, Joe, there's this video comment from a mother. I want you to have a listen to this and let me know what you think.
My oldest son is nearly 6, and his favourite colour has been pink since he was quite little, and he prefers social play like dolls and tea parties. This has led to him experiencing things like being bullied by other kids as young as 4 years old, telling him that pink is for girls, so he must be a girl. It meant that when he turned 5, we couldn't find him a bike for his birthday because he wanted a pink one, but the only pink bikes were called girls' bikes, and they had doll seats at the back. And he didn't want to carry a doll around. It's been really limiting for him.
Joe, can you relate to that story at all?
I can in a bit, and that's one thing that I really, really am concerned about with my sons, is that I want to push them in the direction of finding their own path. And if they, like my older son, his favorite color is purple, but he's already come home and told me that a classmate has had a problem with that. And not that he's been bullied by it in kindergarten, but you know, one of my classmates has said that purple is for girls and blue and black and gray are for boys. And while I don't want him to be bullied, I certainly want him to like follow his path and be strong-willed enough to say, you know what, screw you. Well, not those exact words, but screw you. This is what I like, and I really don't care if you like it or not. But again, at the same time, the downside of that is that it's hard to teach a kindergartner to be strong-willed and confident in their own identity enough to say, you know what, I don't care. I really don't. So it's just something that I think starts in the home, and then kind of you know, you just hope that you're planting the right seed in their mind.
Sure. Margot, I see you nodding.
Oh, well, it's really hard to have any child stand up to their classmates with some sort of contradictory opinion. That's just, you know, goes without saying.
Sure.
But I do think there's a lot of merit to having the toys divided, which people don't seem to have lost sight of, because there's a great way that children are able to play and understand with that division. This is what masculine is, and this is what feminine is. And I get it. That Lotty toy, by the way, is genius, Lucy. I mean, Barbie looks like a total slut. However, and nobody wants, you know, your kid thinking they gotta look like that and just get a Barbie doll and anorexia at the same time. But my boy loves his trucks and his tools and his Legos, and frankly, it's really quite amazing to watch him flourish into, I'm a boy, this is who I am, I'm a boy.
Let me
But if I can jump in for a second here.
Yeah, go ahead, Joe, and then we bring in Elizabeth. Go ahead, Joe.
Okay, real quick question.
Yeah.
So if your son who, I mean, again, I'm totally cool with, like when my sons do boy things, I'm fine with it. You know, it's not like I'm discouraging them from doing things that are masculine. But if your son were to come to you and say, hey, my favorite color is pink, and I want to wear this tiara and run around the house, is this something you'd have a problem with? Or is it just something where, hey, my boy wants to do masculine things and play with trucks, and I'm fine with that? Because frankly, I'm on the same page with you in that regard, being fine with your sons doing masculine things. I'm just saying that I think it's good to open their eyes and say it's okay to watch the movie Frozen and enjoy it and things like that. So, you know,
Joe, why did you bring up the movie Frozen? I know it has a particular fondness in your household, because why?
It's both of my son's favorite movie.
Yeah.
And I have to
half of all the children in the world. Yeah.
Yeah, so you know, my kids love lots of boy things, planes, Jake the Neverland Pirates, but
yeah,
my sons love Frozen. My older son, 5, he doesn't want anybody to know he loves it, but he absolutely does. And we went and saw Disney's Frozen on Ice last weekend, and he's looking around like in a sea of Queen Elsas, and I kind of felt for the kid, because I've been in a situation like that where you know, I've been at one of my sister's slumber parties and I'm the only boy there, and we're playing Mall Madness or something like that, and you just it's hard to have the confidence, but I think it starts in the home. You know, I like to teach my kids that, like, listen, this is acceptable and this is fine, and listen, there may not be a lot of other boys here, but there's a big boy right here who's sitting right next to you, so try to follow my lead. That's what I try to instill.
Elizabeth, what did you want to add?
Yeah. I wanted to ask, because there's this idea that, you know, these divisions between boys and girls are so natural and so inherent and hardwired. And that's a point that Margot was bringing up. And I think if that's the case, then why do you need to constantly affirm which toys are for which, right? If it's so hardwired, then do you really need to tell boys which toys they have to play with? Where on the other hand, what that does, and I don't agree that it's so hardwired, because there's a lot of kids, there's a lot more variation among boys and girls than there is between them. And so I think, you know, what it does when you gender segregate toys is it tells kids like Joe's son, this is not okay for you. It opens them up to being harassed by their peers, which can be very, very detrimental and can shape their behavior. So there's, on the other hand, if toys are opened up and made available for all kids, then they can choose. And if they choose a gender-typical toy, what is the problem with that? I love these Lotty dolls, you know, because I could see a little boy or a little girl playing with them, and there's nothing about them that says this is only for girls. I don't understand why, if it's so natural, we have to constantly affirm it socially.
And Lucy, I see you agreeing there, so I actually want to show you this picture on that theme of being hardwired or not. This was tweeted by a CBS White House correspondent. President Obama wants to put a toolkit in a box for girls, but he was told he should put it in the box for boys. You can see there it's a screen grab, so it's a bit furry. But this happened at a toy drive. At the end, he went ahead and put a toolkit in the box for the girls. But clearly this is something that outside society is saying, no, there's clearly a delineation. What do you think about that?
I think it's incredibly difficult for toy manufacturers to come out and do something different, and I really don't think that people outside the industry realize just how difficult it is to come up with something innovative and actually break these stereotypes. There are so many challenges involved, and I don't think anyone's raised the issue yet of the impact of TV advertising on kids' stereotypes. Certainly over the last 15, 20 years, that's played a huge part in really perpetuating these stereotypes. So that's definitely something that we ought to be putting into the mix in this conversation. And I absolutely agree with Joe in terms of suggesting that action starts with parents in terms of what they tell their children. And I also think there's space for parents to suggest media literacy resources.
What does that mean? Really, Lucy, what does that mean?
Well, ways really for kids to think more critically about these stereotypes.
Hold on a minute. I think I've actually got an example now that you've explained to me what you mean. This is a little girl. She's very classic little piece of internet YouTube history. Her name is Riley. She's having a little rant in the toy store, but not for the reason that most kids rant in toy stores. Have a listen to this.
Princesses. Some girls like superheroes, some girls like princesses. Some boy like superheroes, some boy like princesses.
Absolutely,
So
you're absolutely right.
Why does all the girls have to buy pink stuff and all the boys have to buy different color stuff?
That's a good question.
I would love Riley to meet your son, Margot, just to see how those two would actually hit it off. But there is a campaign right now and a lot of pushback happening for toys to be more gender neutral. How do you react to that?
All right, I there are only two sexes. I don't think you've got to combine them into the middle, and I think you're going to find a lot of mediocrity in the middle. It's like saying there's day and night, but let's just live in the afternoon. It does help people understand, especially kids, where they want to be. And I remember being a little kid and having some dolls, and the boy down the block liked them a lot. And frankly, I was still friends with that boy down the block. At some point, he figured out he was gay from my dolls. So, you got to have some extremes in your color just to know which side of the fence you want to play on.
All right, so Margot, are you saying that if a little boy plays with a doll, then you feel that little boy will grow up to be a gay man? Is that what you're saying?
No, I did not say that.
Okay.
I'm saying that there are instances in which there are great merits to both masculine and feminine.
Right.
And I think one of the things, look, I agree, Barbie looks like a big fat slut and she makes girls feel terrible about themselves and their self-image for the rest of their lives. I think Lottie dolls are genius and much needed, but more for the reason of lack of sexuality in the dolls. Then one is for a boy and one is for a girl.
All right, let me show you. Some of the other guests are smiling as you're talking about this, Margot. Let me show you an ad from a Swedish toy catalogue. And let's see, we've got a little man here doing some vacuuming. Slightly older young man here doing some ironing. Love that. Girl with a power gun. Excellent. All playing with a pretty pink house. Everybody doing that. Then we've got girl and boy changing the baby. I mean, this to me is like echoes of real grown-up life and what you hope your partner in life, if you decide to have a male partner and you're a woman, or you decide to have a female partner and you're a guy, whatever combination, you hope that you're all going to do all this home care, child care together. That's my take.
Operative word, you hope. Look, it's a rainbow nation out there.
Okay.
It's also a really obnoxiously PC world that adults have to contend with. And so I think to force it on our children at such a young age is unnecessary. And
Elizabeth, what do you have to say to that?
I mean, we live in a world where women make up our 40% of the household breadwinners in the U.S. I mean, to say, and men are, 50% of the parents are fathers. So to say that, boys doing, playing with domestic toys is somehow weird. I mean, that is a role that most men will enact at some point in their life. Everybody has to vacuum. It's just a fact of life.
And if you're not vacuuming, you're a guy, I need to see you. We need to talk.
I mean, and so
actually,
I don't
it's the very sexiest thing a man can do.
Or clean the toilets, actually. That's a good one. I don't think we're going to have a toy with a little boy cleaning the toilets, but maybe that's the next step, Mattel. Malika.
Slight hint there.
Yeah, my son has a kitchen that is in our house that a girl gave us. It was a girl, and when she was done with it, you know how the parents pass you like 100 pieces of little food, and we loved, and they were happy to get rid of. So we have a kitchen, which first he used as a kitchen, and now it's his science center. But,
interesting.
It's there. It's not like I was saying, this is a girl's kitchen. That was just a kitchen.
Yeah, but
that was just a kitchen. That's whatever it is. But so that's a fair neutrality. But to say that some of the things or everything should be neutral. Look, I agree. And again, it's easier because I have a boy. But if I had a girl and it was all pink, I think I'd want to barf. There's a lot of orange and yellow and green that the world could utilize. There are many colors of that rainbow.
There's some few other colors other than pink. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I just jump in and say, I think the idea that you're presenting about what neutrality would look like is a mischaracterization. I think it suggests that to be neutral, everything has to be exactly the same and boring and tan and nothing can have any color variety. And I think that's incorrect, and I don't think that's what people are asking for. I think what people are asking for, what I'm asking for certainly, is to decouple gender from toys, to present toys by theme, by type, but not by gender. And if this was the case, then kids could select whatever toy they wanted, regardless of their gender, and it actually opens up possibilities, and it opens up diversity, and things can come in all colors, and nobody is prevented from any color simply because of their arbitrary, of an arbitrary assignment by gender.
Right. Wow, the time's really flown by. We're at the end of the main show, but I'm taking you all to the post show, so we have a play date in just a moment. Malika?
I will wrap us up with this video on what the impacts of what we play with look like. So everyone have a look at this.
When boys are given the ability to have more spatial skills, when boys are given the ability to have toys that are more about technology and reality and things like that, what does it really, what kind of message are we promoting? That's why we don't really have a lot of girls interested in these things, because a lot of girls will say, personally, because I have a lot of cousins, and they'd say, well, yeah, that's more of a boy's toy.
So let's talk about those long-term impacts in the post show.
Excellent. Okay, I just have time to actually get the Lotties over here. Okay. Are you going to the post show? I'm going to the post show. What's the address?
stream.aljazeera.com. See you there. Back to you, Femi.
Okay, so on the next show, we head to Italy, and many older employees enjoy the perks of lifetime job security. It sounds good, right? What could be wrong with that? Well, we'll look how the system is actually shortchanging young Italians. Stay with us. The post show is next at stream.aljazeera.com. See you online. Thanks for watching. Hello again, this is the Stream's online post show. We're continuing our discussion on children's toys and gender stereotypes. So still with us, we have Lucy Follett. She's the co-founder of Lotty Dolls. Elizabeth Sweet is a sociologist. Margot Black is a parent and PR executive. And Joe DeProspero is a father and blogger. So let's go back to Joe. Joe, you said that when you were a youngster, you did play with your sister's toys. If we're looking at long-term impact, what do you think the impact was on you? Because I think some of the studies are slightly undecided about what happens, but a lot of theories are out there. For you, what's your personal connection to playing with certain toys when you're younger and then now as a dad?
Well, it certainly didn't make me gay, so I'll tell you that much, although I have no problem with the fact that a lot of people think I am. That's fine. But, it just allowed me to kind of stretch my wings a bit creatively, and I think childhood is all about creativity and imagination, and really it's all make-believe. So whether I'm playing with my wrestling action figures or He-Man and pretending that there's a war going on, or I'm playing with a Barbie and pretending that her and Ken are going out on a date, it's all the same thing. It's all make-believe. Yeah. For things I got older, living with a sister who would do girly things like play Malt Madness or do Truth or Dare, or ultimately start watching shows like The Golden Girls, and then as we were adults, Sex in the City. Like, it's just one thing added on to the other. So I was able to kind of develop a bit of, dare I say, a feminine side of myself that was stronger than it would have been had I just grown in a house full of 4 bruising boys.
Right.
So it's all in the atmosphere you grow up in, and I was very much, my father lived with us, but sometimes he'd work late. I'd be spending a lot of time with my mother and sister. So again, it's all in the roots, and that's why I say it always starts in the house.
Joe, it's interesting you told that story, because we got this tweet from Mike, who pretty much says the same thing. I would let my son play with dolls. It will make him a great husband to his wife. It means he'll learn early to be gentle to women. And Lucy, speaking of impact and the long-term impact, there is this tweet. I hear the laughter. There is this tweet, though, from Sabina, and she says, the dangers in giving toys that are specific for one gender are that boys get toys that help them learn skills, organizing, tactile, thoughtful, and girls get pink toys that look pretty and they do little else. So Lucy, was that some of the reasoning behind why you created your dolls?
Absolutely. We really wanted to create a diverse range, and really going back to something that both Joe and Margot said earlier, there's absolutely nothing wrong with activities that are traditionally perceived as girly or femininity. But we really want kids to have a whole range of activities, boys and girls, and not be limited to purely one stereotype. Kids really have to have the choice, boys and girls.
I'm just looking at this ad here on my laptop. This is going back to the 1970s and Lego. And I love this advert. This little youngster here, she's got, I don't know what she's got, but darling, it's lovely. And it is, what it is beautiful. This is back in the 1970s. I've seen a recent Lego ad, and it had a beauty salon for girls, and it was not much building going on. And there's a lot of different messaging going on with Lego that seems to have changed from its idea of these bricks and building can be for any sex whatsoever. So I'm wondering, Margot, are you noticing that change? Does it even matter for you that maybe in the 70s we might have been maybe a touch more progressive even?
I'm answering that question, and behind my office chair is a big, fat, stashed Lego box that my 7-year-old son is getting this holiday season.
Nice.
So,
I hope he's not watching, otherwise we just told him.
No, I know, and I'm still making him earn it with homework scores.
Good.
Evil mama. But again, I have a little boy, so he's got this like 300-piece Lego set, and it is an amazing skill that little boys are getting. And to have a girl in a beauty salon, you could just barf and puke for all future generations. Come on, that's pathetic.
Yeah.
But I do think, just to go back a second, somebody had said, I don't know if it was a tweet or somebody else had said that to allow a son to play with dolls will make them a future more empathetic and tender mate.
That would be Joe.
That's a sweet notion, and Joe, you're a very tender man and no doubt a great husband. But down the block live my son's best friends, a boy and a girl, and they were there playing with dolls, and the son had come up to my son with a Barbie in his hand, using it as a gun. So I don't think necessarily that just because your son gets a doll is going to make him a more empathetic. It's a sweet thought and a very tender PC thought, but I don't know if it's necessarily real life. And
I used to scout my Barbies. I think that's an appropriate end up for a Barbie.
I heard it and I just remembered the little talk. And then the only other time I saw my son with a doll is with this beautiful little girl down the block, Ellie, and they were together, and she had beads on and he had a hat, and they were pushing a doll in a stroller, and he said, "We got married. When does she have my baby?" And I was like, "Great, not ready for that conversation. Love the doll. Have a great night. I need a drink." So
that's make-believe for you. Absolutely make-believe.
There you go. There you go. I don't think it's in their consciousness yet to make believe my son, I'm going to grow up to be a really tender husband. But
at least he got married before he
vacuum. If my kid picks up a real vacuum, I'm happy.
Okay. All right. So, we're having a lot of fun with this conversation, but there is a serious end to it, because if we look at science and technology and who is in science and technology, we have far fewer women in those professions than men. And a lot of it can be maybe drawn back to their roots and what they're encouraged to and not to do as youngsters. Lucy, do you actually buy that as a possible reason for why our toys need to be perhaps more neutral?
I don't think the issue here is really about gender neutrality. I really think it's about gendered marketing of toys. Our point has always been toys are really about having fun, and we want children to have fun and enjoy all the positive aspects of childhood, but without limitation. We don't want to have adult agendas at this age. We don't necessarily want to think about careers per se, but what we do want to do is inspire kids to get encouraged and take part in lots of different activities that go beyond the toys themselves.
Well, Elizabeth, since Lucy mentioned marketing there, we got this tweet that I'd like you to consider. Misha says, breaking stereotypes is difficult for manufacturers, and so to help, let's start by asking toy stores to separate toys by interest instead of by gender. Do you think that that's realistic?
I do. If you look at the Let Toys Be Toys movement in the UK and Play Unlimited in Australia, both of which Let Toys Be Toys has had a lot of success in encouraging different toy retailers to stop segregating by gender and to stop using gendered signage, and so that's been very successful. One of the problems is that toys are still being manufactured according to gender. So if you go to the big three toy companies, Hasbro, Mattel, and Lego, especially Hasbro and Mattel, they characterize their toy lines according to gender for the most part. So they have their boy lines, their girl lines, and preschool. And so if the toys are being designed and packaged according to gender, then even if we desegregate the toy aisle, it's still happening. So I think both are important.
Right.
And people often say, well, this is all an economic problem. Toy companies are just meeting demand. I don't find that to be the case in my research, but I think even if it is profitable for toy companies, if it has problematic consequences for kids, which I believe it does, then we need to think about the social good.
Okay.
Sometimes comes before the economic.
All right, so we're coming up to a big gift-giving season. What would be your ideal toy or one that you would recommend, Elizabeth, for a young person? Let's say age about, no, you can pick the age, but a young person, a kid. What's your favorite toy right now?
So I love these snap circuits. My daughter's 12, and she and my nephew, who is 13, you know, they play together with them. She's had younger kids love them, and they're really great for imaginative, creative, and they're a learning tool. They get kids involved in STEM. I think they're wonderful toys.
All right, Lucy, I think I know what Lucy might say.
I think that's a toughie.
What would Lucy's favorite toy of the moment be?
Ooh, definitely Super Lotty. That's the superhero.
All right, very good. Best of luck with the Lotty series down here. We are loving them. Thank you for sharing them with us here on the stream. Joe, toy recommendation for this gift-giving season would be what?
Toy recommend. I mean, anything, frankly, and this goes for any parent, anything that wears your kids out and gets them to sleep at night. I would say it would be a toy.
Yay! I agree.
I think we can all agree on that, no matter what.
Margot, I know you've got like a super deluxe Lego behind you. Is that your toy recommendation for this season? We have frozen Margot in laughter. That's lovely. And now we've lost her just at the right moment for me to say thank you to Margot, to Joe, to Elizabeth and Lucy. I really enjoyed the conversation. Thanks very much indeed. So, moving on. What will we be doing on Thursday? Well, in Italy, many older employees enjoy the perks of lifetime job security. That sounds great, but we will look at how the system is actually shortchanging young Italians. Until then, I'll see you online. Thanks for watching.